Okay.
And I think tonight, it's either tonight or tomorrow, is taco night over in Manchester.
Yeah, tomorrow is
Tomorrow.
Taco Thursday,
They
taco
get
tour.
better weather.
Why not?
Great taco tour.
Switch it up. Okay, welcome to the May 3rd, 2023 meeting of the Goffstown Economic Development Council. If you can all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we just do announce ourselves, starting with Joanne.
Joanne, excuse me, Joanne. Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Jim Craig, Select Board Representative.
Chris Barrett, alternate member.
Chet Bowen, Chair.
John Napoli, Vice Chair.
Dick Bruno, member.
Sarah Smith-Trapakis, member.
Emma Purcell, alternate position, I guess.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome Emma. And then can I get a motion to accept the minutes of 4/5/23? I know we had some people here.
I was not here, so I have to abstain.
I need to take another look at it.
Sure, take a look.
Was it on the agenda, Joanne?
Was
The
what?
minutes, or maybe I didn't see it in the attachment?
No, you didn't get
It's a
the
long
minutes
one.
until right now, so if you want
We can
to
postpone.
continue them to next month, that's fine.
Yeah, let's do that. We can do the next one. Okay, so Joanne, we're gonna go right into old business with the possible changes to the hawkers and peddlers license.
So I took a look at the license again, the one that the selectmen had approved.
Yep.
And I didn't see anything in there about a criminal check. Unless I'm missing something, but I read through it and I didn't see anything. The only place that I did see it was in the application itself, on the back side of the paper that you have for the application.
Yep.
And the selectmen never really had anything to do with the application. They were approving the ordinance. So, based on that, I don't think we really need to go back to them, but
Sure.
I still need to check with the police chief if he's okay with it. I don't know what's going on in Concord right now. I know that they had attached many things to the budget bill, and one of them was to remove lots of different types of license that the state was requiring.
Yeah.
And one of them was hawkers and peddlers. And I don't know whatever happened with that. So if anybody here, probably nobody knows anything. So anyway, I think it's still on the books, but it may not be after, the end of their session. So what I would suggest is, if you want to go that route, to change the application versus the ordinance and remove official criminal record check from one of the requirements. And I'm not sure, I think you should still keep the motor vehicle check. I mean, I don't see the harm in that. You had said it doesn't take very long to get
Does
those
not.
records.
It's very quick.
And then leave the fees as they are, and that would really be the only change.
Mhm. Which would significantly expedite the process.
Well,
which is
so they
important.
say. I
Right.
mean, that's what we heard. And I guess it does take, probably, I would assume it would take longer to get a criminal records check. Now, just for your information, the state does not require a criminal records check.
Right.
They never did.
And in comparison to other communities, it's kind of,
It's half and half, I
Right.
would say, or even less people. It's mostly the cities who are requiring the official criminal check, more so than the smaller towns. There's a few out there for the smaller towns, but not very many. I didn't bring it with me, Jim, but I did a survey of, I don't know, probably 25 towns or so. And we had looked at it in a meeting when you weren't here. And, it was definitely the cities that were focused in more on criminal checks. And I can see why. They'd have lots more activity with those types of businesses than we would here. I mean, the police department is responsible for this whole thing. They're the ones who the applicant would go to, get the paperwork, fill it out, and then once the police department has it, then they transfer it around to the various departments that are listed on here to sign off. But lots of times, I mean, we don't have very many, but the ones that we do, they don't bother to go through the process. They just set up their shop somewhere, as long as they're on private property and they have permission, and they never bother to even go through this process.
Right.
So I mean, the only thing would be is to shut them down and make them go through that, but so far that hasn't happened.
Okay, so recommendation to vote on removing it now or speak with the police chief one more time?
Maybe you could make a motion that this board approves as long as it's okay with the police chief.
Okay, someone to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Dick, second by Chris. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Great. So next, we have the doodle poll and business visitation update from UNH Cooperative.
So Scott had contacted us. He tried to do a doodle poll to see if he could get the people who said that they were going to help out with it, their schedules, and whether we could all, go out at a certain time. And that definitely did not work. I think only like 4 of us responded. And
Was it sent?
it was set like twice.
Does it come from like Doodle versus does it show
Yeah,
that
'cause I don't-
Scott sending it?
Might have been a spam.
It does, but I think the sender, once you open it, it says Scott Slattery, but I'm not sure. I think it might say Doodle in the
Oh,
email.
because that would go directly into my.
Yeah, spam.
Or I'd see
Okay.
Doodle, like I wouldn't open it.
Right.
Yeah.
So unless
Yeah.
Scott sent an email, hey, I'm sending the
Okay.
expect this Doodle
I'll have him do
email.
that.
It's gonna look like this. I think a lot of people would just
Okay.
Delete.
Yep. Delete, spam, whatever, trash.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll have him redo it, and maybe we can get out there
Yeah.
sooner
Great.
than later. Okay, that was all he had at this point.
Okay. The meeting in Pinardville, did we get a chance to talk to anybody at Bartlett about going over there, or I know David Pierce had offered us an option. We talked about those things. Was there any follow-up with Bartlett?
No, all you have to do is fill out a form and they approve it, depending on what their schedule is. School lets out, the middle of June, so not sure if they open it during the summertime. Usually they keep it closed because they have the really, what am I saying, the seasonal cleaning
Yeah.
done.
Deep cleaning.
Deep
They sure
cleaning.
do. So, does it make sense to look at October? I think the last time we did it there was an October meeting. I think that worked out fairly well.
Okay.
That could have been just luck, but I feel like that worked out pretty well.
So I can send the paperwork in now so that we have the date reserved for the first Wednesday.
Of October?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Would we then coordinate some messaging out more to Pinardville businesses that we're going to
Yeah.
be over there and try to garner a few businesses to drop by there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely would want to do that.
We did that, the last time it happened, I think, was 3-4 years ago, and there was an effort to get other businesses to come. I don't think anybody did, but I still think it's good to just go out there twice a year and make a habit of that
Okay.
each year. We can still try.
I mean, and even if, I know that we've talked a bit about having, some of these sessions with the different businesses talking to each other, and then maybe utilizing that more as an opportunity for, having open agenda items for, if we do get confirmation that some businesses can come, maybe we can have some just open dialogue from them to get some more you know, agenda items and opportunities for us to, you know, work on and advocate for versus us just, you know, holding our regular meeting just in
Right.
a different setting.
That's what the first, under new business, number 1, is plan for meeting in Bernardville. That's what that meant,
Yeah.
is you wanted to do like a meeting with the businesses.
Okay.
So if you still want to do that, I mean, we can certainly do that before the fall.
Yep, that would make sense. But am I wrong? This was something you were talking about quite a bit?
We were talking, well, I mean, I've had a couple meetings at Charlie's already with
Yep.
some of the local businesses. I need to start doing it again. Get so busy. But, I can definitely, you know, utilize that as a platform to get people to come to this meeting. But
Great.
I think, if we have an invitation or a flyer, that always helps.
Yeah.
You know, anything that just talks about like what we do and if I can hand it out, I mean, that's nothing like walking into somebody's business and handing them an invitation and asking them to come.
Sure. I mean, that's simple enough if we just throw that together, and then whenever we do fill up that doodle poll, we all get out there to those businesses. Whoever has those businesses in Penardville can bring
hand.
that as well, so that will help.
And
Did
I
you have
always
another idea
wonder
that I feel
what,
like go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just thinking your idea was like in half. Did you have another half of that you were going with?
No, I think I had 2 halves in the whole.
Okay, great. Great. Okay. Just making sure. Just making
No, I
sure.
think just having, yeah, so, you know, over there, so if we, you know, have that meeting at Bartlett, you know, I know that, you know, the church was also offered up, you
Yep.
know, at some point, but, you know, if we have a couple of dates to have, you know, we have the meetings over there, but I think at least one of them, I think it would be good to, you know, promote encouraging these businesses to come and just really opening up the dialogue for, you know, the businesses that are there to, you know, have those conversations. Just another forum for us to do it. I know we, you know, just something to complement some of the survey work that we're doing. We're offering another in-person forum for folks to have dialogue and back and forth, and, you know, instead of setting up, you know, another time and another volunteers to go and try to coordinate and sit on these, if we utilize some of our existing meeting time to open up and have these, you know, sessions a couple times a year to,
And
you know, open dialogue sessions, I think would be helpful.
I think we discussed trying to utilize the brewery at a time to,
We need to do that too.
We
yeah,
do.
I think that would be, you know, smart. You'll get a different group of people.
Yeah.
And they can advertise too, you know,
Right.
come meet the, you know, Economic
Yeah.
Development Committee. I think that that's the big deal. A lot of people don't even really know who we are in Penardville or what we're about. And if they've had an experience, it might not, they might not associate it with us, but they think it might be not a good experience with us, if that makes sense. Because I've heard a couple people say things and I've been like, that's not really what it is.
Yeah.
You know, they see it like it's has all to do with taxes and the town hall and any bad thing that ever happened to them. You know, we're on the wrong side of the, you know, fence kind of thing. And I'm like, no, we're exactly the opposite.
When we were at the Spring
Yeah.
Fest, the example I kept giving was the hawkers and peddlers license, and trying to streamline that process, to get the brewery to be able to bring food trucks in. So it was kind of a good example of like this, you know,
Yeah.
we're trying to work with the
Me
government
too.
to make it easier for you.
I think that's the thing too, is that I don't think folks realize that we are members of the community,
Right.
plus some other members of, you know, of the town. But yeah, you definitely got that sentiment talking to people, that they had no clue. So, you know, if we do these type, you know, if we promote this kind of open dialogue session from some of the businesses, and then they can, you know, that's kind of our guest agenda, and then they can see us go through our typical agenda and have, you know, a better idea. You're killing 2 birds with 1 stone with, you know, existing meetings.
Maybe if we have one at the brewery, we could
Maybe that's the
invite
first one we do.
the businesses like in that plaza and maybe
Yeah.
ones across the street, you know, people
great
that are
idea.
like right nearby that would maybe stop by after work.
That's a great idea.
So just to make sure I understand it, so we're talking about something more informal at the brewery, right? And then an actual formal EDC meeting with GTV and all that stuff at either Bartlett or the other church area, right?
Right.
I was
That
thinking
makes-
having one, well, we could do both.
Well, I don't know that GTV does Bartlett.
They do.
They do?
They do Bartlett.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
but I don't think they do the
So,
brewery.
so
That's us.
we need to have that recorded.
We could, yeah.
Just stream it.
They used to have, I don't know if they do now, but they used to have portable cameras that they would bring like to an event and
Huh?
they may still do that.
We don't
I
want them
know.
coming.
Maybe
I
we
can
can-
check with them.
Maybe we can have a suggestion box.
I mean, I think it would be nice
know.
to be able to take, to travel and do this and then set up, the camera and have it and just, again, this is a volunteer board.
Mhm.
And the more that we can, be efficient with everyone's time and combine some of these efforts, I think, it's a little bit more palatable to get some of that work done. And
Because the informal meeting still has to be a meeting if you have a quorum.
Yep.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So is that our rate limiting step to having a meeting at that location is GTV?
It has to be recorded. Is that done?
It has, well, it doesn't have to be recorded, somebody has to take minutes.
Right. Okay.
But it doesn't have to be shown publicly.
No,
It's
no.
not-
You
Are
just
we-
you have to put out, the agenda has
Yeah,
to be
no,
posted
okay.
and that kind of thing, so people know.
Are we allowed to have a open house, a meet and greet, call it something else, maybe not a meeting? You know what I mean?
It doesn't matter if there's a
If there's a
quorum.
Gotcha. I think I ran into that already myself.
Yep.
Making sure that I'm not having a quorum anywhere.
Is it, are we talking about right to know? Does it fall under that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, we can try to get someone to take minutes, post it, and do that there. And it could be a special meeting, right? Like we don't have to just stick to once a month.
No.
So we could still do. It could still be sort of informal. Do the whole thing, just have minutes and post it.
Mhm.
Okay. Great. So we want to do that before October.
Yeah, it'd be a
Okay.
good time for a summertime meeting,
It would.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hear
we
there's
have our
a
new
patio
outdoor
at the
area,
brewery
too.
too.
There is
Yeah.
now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they
Oh.
have some kind of patio.
Oh, even better.
Behind the building, I think.
Does anyone, like, do we know, is it Candace that runs the brewery?
Well, that's the daughter. But she
She's part of
coordinates,
the-
yeah.
Carrie and
yes.
Jim, right?
So could we potentially support them, walk them through, like say, hey, what, this hawker's license, so they can do that, and then at the event, they can arrange, and we can show how we've helped them arrange like a food truck or something in the summer, and then parking lot, and be like, guys, look, this is what we're doing, this is what we're here to support,
That's a
we
good
helped
idea.
those people
Yeah, yeah.
get a food truck, you guys can do, we can help you, it's not complicated, if you have issues or concerns, you let us know. But then we're demonstrating what we're able to do, and we can just support one company go through the process, and they need food anyway, right? You go to that
Yeah,
bar,
yeah.
that brewery you want to eat, if we can get a food truck there, it's perfect.
Yeah,
It
it's like a
shows
live
the
case
results
study.
of our work, right? That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah, and we should document it in like a case study type thing too.
And we've got plenty of time to do that, so we can let them know, say if we can help you through the process.
So in my head, I'm thinking through timeline, logistics. It would make sense, I think, 4th of July week is typically something where no one's going to show up and we end up, I'm just going to say it out loud. Usually what ends up happening is everyone's like, we can't make it and we can't have a meeting. That almost always happens. So if we looked at August to officially do a meeting there, because they will be open to that, and give them the heads up like, hey, we're working on this Hawkers and Peddlers as well. If we can get that done this month, once the chief says yes, we're okay, right?
Right.
Give them the heads up on that. I think we could set that up for the meeting in August. And then-
Early August,
What's that?
early August, because
Yeah.
people start getting ready for school at the end
Yep.
of August.
So whatever that first Wednesday is hopefully early, and then we can have another meeting in Bartlett. There'll be 2 meetings in Bartlett right there, not in Bartlett, in Pinardville right there.
If you did it on the first Wednesday, it would be the second.
August 2nd, and then the first Wednesday in October at Bartlett, when hopefully more of those businesses come in. So I think that's great. Just plan that. I know the brewery owners will be thrilled to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right.
Dick had something he wanted to report on the bridge committee.
Great.
Yeah, if you want to do that, I was looking through the minutes because I wasn't here at the last meeting, and it looks like
We had
there
a
was
nice
lot-
letter from you. We
Oh.
all felt very bad for you. that you were-
I'm sure you did, but, you know, like I said before, somebody has to do it, you know, somebody has to go to Portugal, might as well be me. But I guess you had David Pierce here and Andrew Gatteret talking about the bridge committee. We met last night, we meet the night before this meeting. So what's come up, and I don't know if you're all aware of it, I know Jim and Joanne are aware of it. We don't know how much it's going to affect the bridge effort, but there's been the state has come to the town and said that the dam, they no longer, and correct me if I'm wrong, want to support the dam. I guess there was they were trying to get somebody to reinstitute the powerhouse there to generate electricity. The developer of the new apartments was in negotiations with them, and I guess thought it was gonna move along where the developer would take over, but they found that it would be, I think, probably, number one, too expensive, but they were hoping that the state would work with them. And the state has decided that, no, they're not gonna work with them. They're going to decommission the dam, I guess is really the word that you have to use, and that the federal license goes away when they do that. And they had 60 days to respond to the feds, and I guess, you know, they came to that meeting, Jim, I guess you were at there, Joanne, you were there, and said, you know, this is it, we're done, we're not gonna negotiate. I guess as Jim just told me, that the contractor or the developer was expecting them to negotiate more, but they did not. So what does it mean? You know, we discussed it at our meeting last night because it was the first topic of conversation, because you know, we're talking about a continuation of the bike path, the bridge, back into town. Well, we said it really doesn't affect us, but what's going to happen is that if that dam goes away, you're going to have a trickle, basically a brook, coming through town. If you look upstream, you know, maybe down into behind the Blueberry Farm, in that area, you'll see what that stream might look like, and that might be what's coming through town. So more on the economic development side, we're a little concerned because one of our major events in town, of course, is the Pumpkin Fest. And, you know, when we talk about Pumpkin Fest, everybody laughs at it, but it's a real good generator of revenue. It's probably the biggest generator of revenue. So all of a sudden, where you're going to be floating pumpkins, you know, that sort of thing. But it does make a difference when we talk about economic development. It's going to make a difference. So where it stands is, I guess Jim, you'll have to fill me in, and I don't know if it's public knowledge,
At the
but
meeting, we tried to get the state to back off, get more time from the feds so that we could, say, you're dropping a bomb on us and, you know, you want us to respond in 5 days and things. And they said, we'll give you to May 5th. And so we wrote, the town wrote a letter to the governor and all the federal officials and everything, and told them what was going on and asked for more time. That's still pending. I don't know whether it's, you know, Joe Alexander got to the governor and told him about it. So, but I still don't know.
I
How
think
much
they
time,
told
yeah.
Joe Alexander they would give us until the end of May, the 28th, till the 60 days.
that 60 days expired,
But
right?
he didn't have anything in writing, they just said that to him. And then there's supposed to be another meeting that Derek is setting up with some people. So I think it's supposed to be next week, but I haven't heard anything about it.
A public meeting for the public to hear the
To hear
specific.
that, yeah.
But when they were pushed, they said, you know, with all the red tape and everything, it probably won't happen. If it happens, it won't happen till like 2026.
Oh, I see.
Shutting
That would
it,
be-
shutting it down?
Be shut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be shut down.
It has to go through like a big, long
Whole bunch of
process, and
stuff.
they have to come up with the money. It's very expensive
Mhm.
to
And
dismantle
But
it.
the issue is that once you lose that, I don't know the name of the license, but the license to have the dam, once you lose that, it's almost impossible to get it back. I think that's what they're saying, is they're taking that away, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
you lose it. And I guess, and I asked the question, Derek and David Pierce, who's pretty well informed in that stuff. And I guess the power generation is not significant. Even if they started that powerhouse back up, they said it wouldn't even power the development.
Oh, really?
And so it's return on investment, you know, what are they, whoever wants to get it going.
the state said it could cost somewhere around $10 million to fix the dam. And it's not, doesn't make sense financially. I think somewhere that New Hampshire has like $550 million to fix dams, but they got 230, I think, dams in the state. And that's small potatoes compared to a lot of them. So it's just a matter of,
And the problem is that they haven't maintained it all of these years.
it's been their job to maintain it since 1968. They didn't do anything, and then they came and said, well, we're just gonna drop it. That's what aggravated everybody. One of the things that aggravated everybody, and the way it
Whose
was
job
done.
was it to maintain it?
State.
The state owns it.
Didn't do anything, let it rot, and now they say it's gonna take $10 million and we can't afford it, see you later.
So, but our argument on the opposite would be the soft costs, right? The community events, those kinds of things. So I think
Sure.
that's a pretty strong argument. Was that, I'm sure that was presented, how was that?
They didn't care.
They-
They had their minds made up and they weren't gonna do anything. They gave us till May 5th, and that's all they wanted to hear. And, you know, I said, we just can't make it, work. We ran the numbers up and down, left and right, and nothing works. They also said that, you know, Greg's Falls and Kelly Falls are in the same situation, and, you know, they're probably gonna let those go too. So God knows what's gonna happen to the river down below, and everybody who has houses, the waterfront houses is gonna be, you know, so it's gonna be a big deal.
So you may not know the answers to these, but the questions that come to my head are, if we're not looking to generate electricity with it, do the rules change? Does that help us or hurt us? Does anyone know?
There was something
You
about
can
that.
try and get federal dollars if you're not making money on the dam. So they claim that they looked, you know, high and low for money, but they couldn't find anything. But personally, I think we should still.
Yeah, they were looking for the money to restore the dam to where it was to generate power, but I think what you're asking is if it's not generating power.
It still needs to be repaired because it's
Sure.
Yes,
unstable.
Sure.
But there
Will that-
may
will
be
that lower the
federal
cost?
dollars if they don't use it for hydropower.
Okay.
And then the Hadley Falls Dam, which is the Glen Lake Dam, that one has an operator. They have 10 years left on their lease. But their problem is they may be getting direction from FERC, which is the federal government.
That's the,
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of,
Federal
yep.
department that runs all of this, to install a fish ladder. But the other problem is Kelly Falls Dam, which is down by Manchester, but affects all of those homes. They're part of Goffstown, down on the river. That dam is also, needs repairs. And the operator, they've been told as well that they need to install a fish ladder. And the fish ladder is very expensive. So the operator of the Kelly Falls Dam has decided once his lease is over, he's pulling out. So the problem is now the state is saying, okay, where are we going to get the money to repair that dam and find an operator for it and install a fish ladder? Because the fish, supposedly the fish come, they go upstream and they lay their eggs, and then I guess the dams block them from like getting any further. So Amoskeag has a fish
have
ladder, but the other 3 dams on this river and on the Piscataqua do not. So they can only get as far as the Kelly Street Dam, and then they can't go any further. So I did talk to the operator of the Hadley Falls Dam, and he explained that they're not, the state now is not really, or the federal government is not really looking so much for fish ladders like they were, because it had something to do with the salmon being able to use it. But now they think that the whole operation that they were using for the salmon is not really working so well. So now they're looking to protect two other fish that I really couldn't tell you what they are, I don't remember. But they go through a different way. They go through like, sort of like this, almost like a,
They take the stairs, rather.
yeah, they take the elevator.
Right, they-
It's sort of like a chute.
Yeah.
And I believe that's less expensive.
Okay.
So in terms of the scope of the EDC, is there anything that this group can do, like any letter of support or anything that would be meaningful
Yep.
for any of these efforts?
I think the ball's already in,
Yeah.
the state, the select board and everything is done that, and the state reps are on board, they gotta handle the Concord part, and, so at this point, I think, wait until we get an answer, we already have an answer, right? Wait till,
Well, supposedly Joe has an answer to the 28th of May, but there's supposed to be another meeting with Mark Sanborn and some other people, like the state reps and some others, to talk about it some more, so I don't know what's gonna happen with that.
So to John's point, though, once we figure out whether we have until the 28th or not, I don't see any harm, and potentially maybe some influence if we can get some sort of letter, maybe get the businesses around here to sign it, maybe we loop in Main Street and say, let's get some businesses to sign this, that this is the effect it has. It's not just this one thing, it's not, I understand $10 million is a lot of money, I get that. But there's a much larger cost to it, to the community, get the businesses to sign it. We have some strong community members. I think Andrew Catterett especially would probably help us. So maybe we could at least offer that from our purview here. I mean, we're very limited in what we're able to do. The select board sounds like they did everything they could do already, but we could at least maybe do that.
I think that's a good idea.
So put something like that together.
Can
So
send a letter to, I would say, the governor. It's the governor and council who would be making the final decision.
do we have?
Well, you should get the
Seems like
letter
it's
that we
gonna
sent,
affect.
it's got a list of who we sent it
Yeah.
to, and then we sent it to Shaheen and,
Sure.
and Pappas and everybody,
Right.
so you should copy all of them.
Is,
And,
oh, go ahead, Dave.
You know, and we're taking it from the perspective of the impact that it would make on our economy.
Yeah.
So that's my question. Do we have, who's positioned to be able to really articulate that impact of the community? Was that already done?
It was, wasn't it? There was.
They mentioned
they
in the
did
letter,
mention
I
it.
can send you the letter tomorrow, but it was mentioned.
Main Street has, so the reason I mentioned Main Street too, I believe Main Street has a fairly accurate amount of revenue that comes into the businesses here from something like the Pumpkin Regatta or
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
other things. So I think we could probably get that and add it to a letter of support, get the businesses to sign it, and just really just co-sign with what the select board already did.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah, no, it's a
add
good
something else
idea.
in.
I think the small business specific touch on.
Yeah,
that
because that's who
would be
we
helpful.
represent, is the economic part of that, I mean, certainly the select board is the big picture, but as a subgroup, we're saying, we're trying to do it in.
I'm just thinking about my little house floating away.
Oh,
Because I live right on the river.
We don't want that. We don't
No,
want our
that's
houses floating
terrible.
away.
Well, no, I actually wouldn't
Well-
know very high up, but there's a lot of people that live, like just recently, they dam in the rain, it was very low, and then it was above, like I have a dock and then a concrete dock that's maybe 6 feet above that, and it was above the concrete dock, and I've never seen it that high. So I can just imagine, it'd be great.
Has it lowered since?
Yes, since yes,
bit.
a little bit. But it's definitely affected by the dams, what's going on with the dams. Because, they lower the dam, they raise the dam, and it definitely, there's, where I live by the rail, the rail trail's behind me, and so I live at the end of Moose Club Park. So my land is pretty high up, but there's other people's houses, like in that whole area on Moose Club Park, where they're flat with the river. And then you have Dana's Park and all those places. A lot of people would be It would really affect them.
Okay. So I think it's just a point of action. If you have my permission to write me 6 emails a day, to call me every day, but I really think we should meet with Main Street, get the numbers that we're asking for, and
Okay.
articulate, if we can draft a letter, and anyone that wants to, will send an email that we're gonna meet with Main Street, and we can just
Yeah.
do that. And then draft a letter and just literally walk it around to the businesses here, just to co-sign on what the select board already did.
Oh,
So we have to do that, I think we'll know Friday whether or not we got the extension one way or another, right? So once we know Friday, we have until the 28th to get that letter drafted, signed, and attached. So we'd have to do it in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So,
Does the risk of the flooding to the houses and then the, therefore it becomes unlivable, like dangerous for people that are here paying taxes, we're gonna lose money on that flip side, like have we looked at that? Has anyone looked at?
did that come up?
Well, it's not gonna
It's
flood,
not gonna flood, it's
you're
gonna
gonna have a bigger
recede.
backyard is what you're
Yeah,
gonna
it's gonna
have.
recede.
You know,
It's
the
gonna
water.
recede, okay.
That's what I asked too. That's the
Yeah.
first thing I thought.
Well,
I
actually,
was-
that'll be really interesting too.
I thought it was flood control.
Well,
I thought all
well,
these dams
Well, then,
were
then the
flood
question came up, who owns the land underneath that?
There you
So
go.
That's,
There you go.
and the answer was, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's what the answer
Yeah,
was.
Well,
Like-
we
So it'll be
have
more-
Cynthia Bover is on our committee, and she's an appraiser, and I guess has done work for businesses, and she has some record of who owns the land, that basically the land under the river.
Yeah.
And she says, because it does extend out to the river, you do have rights to, I don't know, the center of the river, but if it dries up, who then owns
Right.
that? And there's some old
They have to
deeds
do
of-
title
Yeah,
search,
because
they pretty much do
let's-
title searches.
I know
on
that
that.
like my deed tells me how much frontage I have,
Frontage.
and so when they built the concrete dock, we have like a lot further out into the water. So when boats go by and almost hit my concrete dock, we always go, oh, we should put some buoys out there because it's dangerous. They don't understand that there's things underneath that they could hit and ruin their boat, but they like to take the corner really wide.
I think it would affect setbacks and a lot of other questions that would come up.
I think
But for the, go ahead.
No, sorry, and also the decrease in property value.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, that alone, the math there is gonna outweigh the,
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, a house, there's a tiny house, I'll call it, that just sold for 300 and, it was at 350 and it's pending at 335 and it has less than 1,000 square feet and it's not on the water. It's across the street from the water.
Wow.
And then the house, one house next to me that didn't sell was for sale for a long time because that's a lot of water frontage. And that property value, they were trying to sell it for 600,000.
So if they lose feet and feet and feet of water, you don't have
Time
that.
to sell.
Do we know that? Do we know that environmental impact of how much? And was there an assessment?
Well, yeah,
done?
that's why it's gonna take, that's partially the reason why it's gonna take to 2026 to actually do it, because they gotta go through all that kind of stuff. There's thousands of procedures, I guess.
I don't know if they actually do the part about figuring out who owns what in the river. I think they leave that up to.
Right, but
There's gonna be some
people,
Yeah.
disgusting
but it'll
things
come
they're
up.
gonna
Right.
find
I think
in
that's
that
just,
river.
I don't know, it just
Dead
seems very
bodies, because there's
hastily if you
people
don't
got
know the
drowned
whole
and stuff.
impact. And now the process is already in motion.
That's the
It's
issue.
gonna be really
And then you
sad.
have a cluster, like, versus delaying the, or extending the expiration of the license.
Right.
It just seems odd.
And tell me if I'm wrong, I mean, you were all surprised at the timing of this, right? I mean, there was no,
Well, there was
Real-
negotiations between the guys who developing over there, and the DES, the state, to lease the dam, because they were gonna try to use it to generate power for their buildings, and they were negotiating, and they thought this meeting that they called for everybody, the town and the state, was to finish negotiating, kind of push everybody to get that. Instead, the state says, no, we're not doing that, we're gonna decommission it,
Surprise.
and we're all done. And they could have, I mean, there was steam coming out of the developer's ears when he heard that. 'cause
And the
first he
person
heard
they were negotiating with retired in December. That was the last they heard from him.
oh,
and they didn't know he retired.
Oh,
So no
Wow.
one said anything, so like the
Smoothly
communication
done.
just stopped.
yeah.
Doesn't sound great.
Because the developer thought like, oh, why am I not hearing from this person? And that was the reason,
And that meeting was the first time the developer heard that as well.
yeah.
That's horrible.
So our scope of influence is very narrow. So does anyone else want to be with Joanne and I when we meet with Main Street?
I'm happy to do
You
it.
want us to reach out to you?
Sure.
You makes sense because you're on the other committee. So we'll try to set that up.
So did your committee, excuse me, did your committee decide to do anything, or just?
No, only because Derek was there explaining it all, and we knew that, I guess the select board was taking your action. I mean, you know, we're discussing it in the sense of, okay, what does it do to our effort with regard to a bike path, ped path over the river? It doesn't really change anything. We still want that extension of the bike path into town. Because
Sure.
And my point was, well, you know, it's kind of an offset. If you get that, if we're losing some
The bridge
economic.
becomes a lot smaller?
Yeah, no,
They could just
yeah,
walk
that-
across.
well,
Skip over it?
Two by four.
But it's true, because there's embankments there, and somebody brought up the fact that there could be some old embankments that were even at a more narrow, so there'd be less bridge to build, you know, but that's another subject. But we also thought, well, you know, this is even more important to bring the trail in town to get people into town. So, but no, and to answer the question, we didn't do anything further with regard to that. But I do understand, we're gonna have the ad hoc committee has requested from the select board to talk to us about the position or the situation with buying Rotary Park. Because that, again, I don't know what's in the letter and what's back and forth, and that will be disclosed in maybe some conversation later on. But we need that piece, and this is just for the committee itself to move on. We need that piece in order to do anything more anyway.
Yep.
So that's where we're at. That's just kind of the overall as far as where the bridge committee is.
Well, thank you for going to those for us and updating us.
Oh, no. Be interesting to see how that
Interesting.
works out.
It is interesting.
Okay, any other business from anyone that they want to bring up?
Oh, just on the bridge thing, they directed us to Exeter, they did the same thing in Exeter.
Oh, okay.
And they said that the results, I don't know whether they put parks in or whatever or something, but they were trying to get everybody to say that this doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Well, of course.
You know,
It's been
But apparently they did it.
Yeah,
And I don't know if there was, how many houses were on that or anything, I don't know the specifics, but.
Yeah, that was brought up last night too as an example. Just on maybe an encouraging note, Rick Wilhelm, he was there, you know, Parks and Rec. He said, well, you know, he says if you have less of water, and we can still do a lot of water activities with kayaking up the river, and he said, this might be a good thing. Okay, you know, because he brought up this Franklin, I guess they built a kind of a rapids,
It's like a water park.
water park. You know,
Canoes
that's a-
and-
so
It's a
Rick
really,
came.
But I'm
it is a
sure-
really nice spot, Franklin Falls.
Yeah, Frank, have you been
the
up
whole-
there?
Yeah, it's gorgeous. They have a rail trail alongside of it.
Yeah.
All the old trestle bridges. It's a really cool park. I mean,
But the problem would be financing it.
Yeah, well, isn't it always about the
Right.
money?
Always. So, you know, as a former pumpkin boat race victor myself, I would hate to see that
Did you
go.
go in the pump?
I sure did. I sure did. Yep.
Did you say Victor?
Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
Mhm.
Now
There's a
this-
trophy in there and everything on behalf of the select board.
Oh.
Crazy, right? So,
Now that's something to have.
That's
on
worthy
the list.
business.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
definitely needs to be in the letter.
yeah, absolutely. Well much.
Should be on the cover letter of just Chet and a big pumpkin.
It was on the newspaper. It's strange. So, any other business at all?
No.
Okay.
I'll try to get a hold of Dennis and see if he could come next time.
Right.
And like I said before, Cole Reel will be, hopefully, he said he would be coming in to
Great.
talk about the Chamber of Commerce in
Wonderful.
Manchester.
Thank you.
Now, that might be something they need to talk about, because isn't Kelly Falls in Manchester? I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
So they need to get
Think
Manchester
about that
cranked
as
up
well.
about that too, you know?
I did contact Lou D'Alessandro, and he contacted Senator Murphy, who didn't know anything about it, and then Derek talked to his aide, and then they were gonna get back to Lou with some information.
So we can get Manchester fired up about all of it too, that's.
That would-
Well, I was thinking about that too. Is there any kind of like post that we can zip out onto Facebook or just for like a, you know, maybe not take sides on something or try to be benign, but
I think this is something we can reasonably take sides on. I mean, it's negatively going to affect the town from an economic standpoint. I think
if we have a letter crafted and just
I mean, that's-
maybe
yeah.
put it out.
Yeah. I think the start with, you know, going around to the businesses, we'll probably get some reaction to that and a lot of questions, and that might build up to the point where we might be able to start reacting to those questions as well.
maybe we could, if we had a post and we get the businesses to share the post, you know, that way they have something sort of crafted they can share with all their customers, so everybody in the town would be more aware of it.
So again, remind me, what are the next steps with drafting the letter?
So Joanne's gonna reach out to Main Street and see if they're interested in meeting with us, which I'm sure they will be. And then Joanne, Dick, and myself will go meet with reps from Main Street who will have information. I know they have information about sort of different times where there's like significant revenue generation from community events that kind of focus on that the river part in the dam. And then we can add that, craft that letter, and then add it almost as like a co-sign or co-sponsor of the select board letter that's already gone out, after we get all the businesses to sign it. So once they sign it, that's where the real influence is in, is that now businesses are involved and saying, hey, we don't want this to happen.
Yeah.
Is there a petition that maybe some could get generated for anyone to sign though? Do you know what I mean? Like, so
In
that
addition?
just,
Yeah.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
mean, it would, if you think about it, if you're thinking about the area like Pinardville where all the water is, that would negatively affect that whole area.
Yep.
Whether it be people that live there, because I mean, everybody goes down to use the water, that's kind of the reason why you live there. And that would have a negative effect, and obviously it's gonna have a negative effect as it goes further up into Goffstown. Even, you know, more water, it's usually a prettier view. So,
Just
Where-
procedurally, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna ask, were those kinds of things discussed with regard to the effects down the river towards Manchester in that meeting that you had, or didn't you get into that?
Well, just down to Kelly Falls.
Yeah.
Peter Jantis has a boat on there, so he was really, he was right on that one.
There you go.
So, but I mean, there's a lot of houses on there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so,
Okay.
There's a huge difference between having a lake house and having a stream house.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's a difference.
but it didn't seem to bother this representative from the state.
No.
No, there were, the whole room was filled. It was,
Oh,
the whole dam bureau, I think, was
the
there.
whole damn bureau, huh?
that was good. I like that
And
one.
then there was this person from the, which department is he working? He's the assistant commissioner of the DES.
Yes.
That's Sanborn, right?
Yeah. Did you have something for Facebook, did you say? Like,
No, I was just saying, like, if we draft that letter, I mean, that's something that we can post, and then to the points brought up, you know, the business that we talk to, and we, you know, co-sign on that letter, or the business that we talk to, we can have them support and
Okay.
share that, and just,
Okay.
I think, bring up more public awareness and put some more pressure of
Yeah,
the
'cause-
impacts that will happen. But my question, Mr. Chair, if we're drafting a letter from the Economic Development Council for this, knowing the timeframe, should we make a motion? Do we need to make a motion to send this letter? on behalf of the EDC?
Actually, yes, because we have to do this before the next meeting. So thank you for that. So can I get a motion that we would approve the drafting and sharing of a letter signed by the local businesses? This would be in partnership with the Main Street program.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, motion by Chris, seconded by John. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you for that.
Did we accept the minutes?
We'll table it to next month, we have them today to review.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Approve them next month.
okay.
Sounds good.
I will ask again. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, okay, motion by Nick, seconded by John. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
That